guys, and welcome back to TSTV. And in this video, it'll be quite a busy video actually. We'll be reacting to the Champions League draw that just took place. We'll be looking at a couple of transfer bits and pieces that seem to be going on at the moment, and also looking back at Manchester United's disastrous loss to Grimsby last night and what that might mean for Ruben Amorim. So let's kick off then, as it is going to be a busy and jam-packed video. I'll go through the draw for each English team, and I'm going to focus specifically on Chelsea's draw, being a Chelsea fan, because otherwise I'd be here all night if I was discussing the implications for every single team here. So in the draw, Arsenal got, and by the way, I am going to be looking at my piece of paper, so bear with me if I am looking away a little bit. Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, Club Brugge, Olympiacos, Slavia Prague, Kairat Almaty and Athletic. So some interesting games there. Arsenal played Bayern Munich quite a few times and they went to Inter last season, I believe. My team, Chelsea, Barcelona at the Bridge. Always a massive game. Bayern Munich away, Benfica at home, Napoli away, Atlanta away, Ajax at home, Paphos at home and Qarabag away. Liverpool got Real Madrid, a homecoming for Trent Alexander-Arnold. That will be very interesting indeed. Inter Milan, Atletico, Frankfurt, PSV, Marseille, Qarabag and Galatasaray. City, they've drawn Dortmund, Real Madrid, who they seem to again draw every season, Bayer Leverkusen, Villarreal, Napoli, Bodo Glimt, Galatasaray and Monaco. Newcastle have drawn Barcelona, PSG, Benfica, Bayer Leverkusen, PSV, Marseille, Athletic Club and Union Saint-Gilloise, which is a very tough draw, but I guess because they're in pot 4 it was always going to be that way. And Tottenham have got Dortmund, PSG, Villarreal, Frankfurt, Slavia Prague, Bodo Glimt, Copenhagen and Monaco. A couple of games that Tottenham played against, in the Europa League, a couple of opponents in Bodo Glimt and Frankfurt. And I think looking at the draw as a whole, Tottenham definitely got the most favourable run of fixtures. Obviously PSG away is tough, but I think pretty much every other game in that group is very, very winnable. They could be a dark horse actually to get into the top 8 with those set of fixtures with the way the new format works. Of course the new format is you've got 36 teams, each team plays 8 games. There's then a top 8 and then the net that go through automatically to the round of 16. There's then a 16-team playoff that basically compete for the last 8 places, and then remaining 8 teams, they will go out. So it's actually quite hard to not qualify from it, but again it is still important to make sure that, I think last season 11 points got you over the line, so I think pretty much all the English teams, maybe apart from Newcastle, and I still think they'd have a decent chance, particularly at home, of getting through. So yeah, looking at Chelsea's draw, I mean, yeah, Barcelona at Stamford Bridge, what a magical night that will be. I've been to quite a few games against Barcelona in the past, and they've always been incredible occasions, full of joy and sometimes heartbreak as well. That Andres Iniesta goal in 2009 still haunts me to this day, but they typically are always brilliant games. The atmosphere will be red hot, it'll be absolutely bouncing at the Bridge. Every sort of year it seemed back in the day we would draw Barcelona, and there was quite a big rivalry there and quite a lot of antipathy between the two sets of clubs, and it's sure to be a really, really good tie. And the way Barcelona play, of course it's going to be really tough. They've got some brilliant attacking players, but they take so many risks. The high line is like even more sort of pronounced than Ange Postecoglou's at Tottenham, and they won't come and sit back. Perhaps it's a chance for Enzo Maresca to show his tactical chops again, like he did in the Club World Cup against PSG, and overcome that. Obviously, Bayern Munich as well, away from home. A glamour tie, that would be a really tough game. I mean, always going away to Bayern's always very, very tough. It's going to be tricky, that one. And obviously Napoli away as Antonio Conte. That will be a tough game. He'll be determined to get one over on us. I know when he was Tottenham manager, I think he lost every game he managed against us. I think they did win one while he was technically in charge, but that was overseen by that caretaker manager. I think it was Stellini or something. So technically, he's never beaten us as a manager. That'll be really interesting. There'll be a hostile atmosphere. Benfica and Ajax at home as well. Sort of old school glamour ties. Ajax are probably not what they once were. They have been struggling in the Eredivisie in the last couple of years. I think they needed 6 points from 6 games to win the league last season. They didn't manage to do that. They're not the team they once were. And again, it should be, not a relatively easy task. You can't ever write a team like Ajax off, but it shouldn't be too much of an ask to get 3 points in that game. Obviously Benfica as well, incredible European pedigree, just like Ajax. We obviously played them in the Club World Cup and beat them pretty convincingly 4-1. I know it went to extra time, but because of that whole nonsense around the storm, that basically disrupted our flow and we conceded a last-minute penalty. But once it went to extra time, we really put the foot on the gas and took the game away from them. And I think we've beaten Benfica every time we played them. So yeah, they won't fancy coming to us and getting a result. And then Paphos and Qarabag. I'd rather have it been the other way around. Qarabag at home, Paphos away. That'd have been a lovely little away trip to go to Cyprus. But Azerbaijan it is, and Paphos at home. Obviously, David Luiz has now joined Paphos, and that would be very, very interesting to see him back at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, overall, it's a tough round of fixtures, to be honest. Atalanta away as well. That won't be an easy game. I know they've got rid of Gasparini, and he's gone to Roma now. He was really the glue that held everything together at Atalanta, who are a really fantastic team to watch. It'd be interesting to see what they're like. But yeah, I mean, it is a tough group of fixtures. No getting away from that. And I think it could be a tough ask to get into the top 8 with those fixtures, but I'd certainly be confident to get into that round of 16 playoff round. I mean, I think we'd have to do pretty well not to qualify. When you think about Paphos and Qarabag, you should be getting 6 points there, and then really you need to find 5 points from elsewhere. And look, games never kind of pan out how you think they will, so it could be that we beat Bayern Munich away but we lose against Barcelona at home. We could beat Napoli away but lose to Benfica at home. You just never know. But I think with that set of fixtures, top 8 I think might be a tricky ask, particularly combining it with the Premier League. But I think we will get into that sort of knockout round, and I think pretty much every English team will. Again, maybe apart from Newcastle, just because their schedule is so tough. But again, the St James's Park factor could play a part in seeing them home, really. But yeah, interesting draw. It's a new format, so I'm not really used to it. I used to be able to remember the groups kind of off the top of my head because it was a lot easier to remember, but having to memorise about 40 different fixtures is quite tough. So yeah, really looking forward to the Champions League. That will get underway in the middle of September. The fixtures actually get released in terms of what dates they will take place on Saturday, and then we can sort of map, or each team can map really where they're going to be and when, and people can start booking flights, which is always the most exciting thing in the Champions League. I'll certainly keep my eye out, see if there's any good deals going, and hopefully get to 1 or 2 away games, as well as some home games in the Champions League as well. So yeah, moving on to the transfer news. Now, it's just broken that Newcastle seem to have agreed a fee with Stuttgart for Nicholas Waldmatada. I think that's how we pronounce it. He's a big, lumbering German centre-forward, but he's got really, really good technical ability as well. I've watched a bit of him in the Euro Under-21s and in the Bundesliga. He's got really, really good ability. He's not like a typical, what you would think, 6'7" striker that you get maybe back in the day. I remember there was a striker called Nikola Zigic that played for Valencia, and then he joined Birmingham, and he was a massive guy, big physical presence, but didn't really have that much technical ability, whereas Waldmatada really does have that. He has the physical strength, and he will only get stronger as he grows up. He's only 22, 23, but I think he is a really astute signing for Newcastle. He looks like he's been going to go to Newcastle for around 80 million euros, so that is a big fee, and I guess that would probably price them out of a move for Nicholas Jackson. They've obviously been in talks with Chelsea at various points in the window about potentially bringing Jackson to the club, but I would imagine that would kind of put that rumour to rest, and maybe they would go for Waldmatada and one other, maybe it's Strand Larsen or Visser. We'll have to see on that one, but I think it's a really good bit of business, and I think it probably does now open the door for Alexander to go to Liverpool. Newcastle will probably want to try and get that second striker over the line before they ratify that move. But I think now, whereas I thought a couple of days ago maybe it won't happen, I'm pretty certain that Isak will be a Liverpool player by the end of the window. So yeah, big transfer news that just broke, potentially a really big signing for Newcastle, and intrigued to see how he does in the Premier League. There's also been a tug of war between my club Chelsea and Tottenham, most feared rivals, over Xavi Simons. Now, Simons, obviously, he plays for RB Leipzig, really talented young Dutch midfielder. We've been linked with him, as in Chelsea have been linked with him pretty much all summer. Crux of it is that we couldn't sign off on Simons or Garnacho, who looks like he will be getting done. We haven't had it here we go yet, but it looks like it is essentially going to get done within the next day or so. We couldn't push the button to sign them until we had sold Christopher Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson. Now, this morning it's been broken that Christopher Nkunku has agreed to join AC Milan in a figure worth around 35 million plus. From my perspective, I think that's a very good fee. I know it is a bit of a loss on Nkunku, but considering he's not really hit the heights at Chelsea, I still think there's a player in there, 100%. But he's not hit the heights. I think he started 11 Premier League games for us. So to get a fee, especially from an Italian club who are renowned for being very thrifty when it comes to paying transfer fees, I think that is a decent bit of business, and I think that's one of those deals where Chelsea probably got offered it and decided to shake hands and say, look, good luck, Christopher, but that's a good deal for us. Go and enjoy yourself in Milan. And Milan's a beautiful city. I'm sure he will. So you would have thought maybe that would trigger us to push the boat out for Simmons, but seemingly we're focusing on Garnacho right now, and that has now opened the door for Tottenham, who have been after an attacking midfielder all summer, to make a bid for Xavi Simons. Now the rumour is that they've made a bid for around 70 million euros. It's not been confirmed whether that's been accepted yet, but that was around the ballpark figure that RB Leipzig wanted for Simons. Now, apparently, according to the rumour mill, Simons has rejected likes of Man City and Bayern Munich because he wants to come to Chelsea this summer. And he's been very, very adamant in the fact that he wants to come to Chelsea. And I think Tottenham are probably pursuing this a bit cautiously in terms of the way they move, because they don't want another Eze situation. And it has been labelled that Tottenham are hijacking Chelsea. I don't think that's the case at all, and that's not me just with my Chelsea head on, trying to defend the club, because I'm more than happy to have a go at the club when it needs to happen. It seems to me that Chelsea have also been confirming Lopez in the last couple of days, do like Xavi Simons and do potentially want him, but they won't press ahead with a bid unless they can get Jackson out the door as well. And the fact that, again, maybe they're looking at the fee, and maybe they're looking at and thinking, well, João Pedro can play there as well. Obviously, Cole Palmer's going to be the starting number 10. So I think if Xavi, and this again is not me just my Chelsea head on, and no disrespect to Tottenham, but given all what we've heard all summer, if Chelsea bid what RB Leipzig want for Xavi Simons would most likely choose Chelsea. But if Chelsea don't bid what RB Leipzig want for Xavi Simons, he'll go to Tottenham, and he seems to have softened his stance now about moving to another club. And I think, look, obviously from my point of view, I really like Xavi Simons. I think he's a quality player, really, really talented. But again, would I be absolutely devastated and furious that if he slips through a net? I'm not too sure. I still think we would need someone in there to replace that hole that Jackson and Kunku would have left, because we could leave ourselves short. Like, for example, against West Ham, we only had, I think, Gittins on the bench as an attacking player. But clearly, the club have an idea of what sort of profile they want, what sort of maybe wages they want to pay, and the value of certain players. I don't think it's like a massively crucial position in the team, because you've got João Pedro that can play there, Esteval that can play there, Cole Palmer that can play there. It's not, for example, like earlier in the window, if it was a centre forward, us sort of behaving like this, I'd have been a lot more annoyed, I think. But again, obviously you don't want to lose a target to Tottenham, and the way Tottenham fans will frame it is that they've hijacked us, and look, that's well within their right, that's football fans, that's tribalism, no issue with that at all. But I don't think it is straightforward hijacking. I think maybe we have just pivoted slightly, but we'll have to see. We never know what will happen, especially with Chelsea. It could all change in the next couple of hours, and this video again could be very dated, but it looks like Tottenham are now the front runners for Xavi Simons. So yeah, I mean, really interesting transfer activity. Things are really starting to hot up now. And another thing that was very hot last night was Grimsby Town 2, Manchester United 2. Manchester United being dumped out on penalties by Grimsby, and I mean, it was just absolutely abject from a Manchester United point of view. I watched the game, and then sometimes with these cup upsets, you can get games where you batter a team for 90 minutes and maybe they score from a fluky set play, and it's just one of those nights. Like I've seen it happen to Chelsea, and it's happened to countless other teams. It can happen. But Man United got absolutely battered for about an hour. Like, Grimsby could have been 4 or 5-0 up. They were the better team, they looked better on the ball, they looked more physical, they looked stronger, they looked like they had more technical ability, and it was just an absolute shambles from a Manchester United point of view. And obviously United threw the kitchen sink at Grimsby towards the end. Grimsby naturally started to tire. Brian Mbeumo scores a good goal, and then Brian gets one added time to get them out of jail, nearly. But then obviously the penalty shootout happens. I think it was 12-11 in the end, and Cunha and Brian Mbeumo missed the crucial penalties. And look, I don't think you can lay too much blame at Led, or players can always miss penalties. But I think in terms of the overall performance, it was absolutely disgraceful from Manchester United. And it makes you think, where do they go from here? Now, I'm not a Manchester United fan, and as someone who grew up in the He's watching United win every single week and every single trophy, it felt like. It is very, very funny to watch, but if you're a United fan, you must be thinking, well, can this get much worse? And there's that Mick McCarthy meme that's going around, isn't there, where he gets asked, can it get much worse, Mick? And he just goes, it can. And it could get much worse for Manchester United. There really didn't seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel. I found Ruben Amorim's interview afterwards very bizarre. It almost reminded me of sort of Pete Mourinho in 2015 when he was basically on his way to getting sacked at Chelsea the second time. I remember he gave a 7-minute monologue against Southampton where he was just sort of ranting and raving. And it was slightly different in Amorim's context, but he was absolutely fuming. And he seemed to suggest that the players weren't playing for him. He said, to quote him, that they spoke very loudly. He said it numerous times. He said something that needs to change and it can't be the 22 players. And he also said that after the Burnley game they'll discuss his future. Now to me that sounded like he was resigning. That's how I took it. It didn't even really need much reading between the lines, to be honest. It sounded like he had enough, that he knows he can't get any more out of these players, and that maybe the job is just a bit too big for him at this stage. He's obviously a talented coach, but he does look out of his depth. And for me, it looked like he was ready to go, ready to walk. He'll probably do the Burnley game, but after that, he's done. Now, Manchester United, I don't think are going to sack him. They briefed today that they aren't. That remains to be seen whether or not Amorim does hand in his resignation. He's actually done it before at United a couple of times, and he's offered to go, and Jim Ratcliffe and United have said no, but this will give them a decision to make. And if Ruben Amorim has had enough, and he's also said before he won't get paid if he goes, then that will be, already one of the biggest stories of the season. And yeah, Man United got Burnley at the weekend. We'll have a predictions video come out tomorrow, so we'll preview that game in a little bit more detail. But absolute shambles for Manchester United. I don't know where they go from here. And yeah, if you're a Man United supporter watching this, I remember going through that 2022-23 season under Graham Potter, so I feel your pain a little bit, although this seems to have been going on a lot longer if you're a United fan. So yeah, there we go guys, Champions League draw wrapped up, some big transfer news, and also looking at Manchester United's malaise. I will see you very soon. Take care.